Okay, so this is not going well. I made just a first prototype bat roost, just kind of my very vague first guess at what might be the right dimensions for a pregnant medium-size European bat. It's not an attempt to get it right at all. It's just a first attempt so that I could get your guys' feedback on what I'd got right, what I'd got wrong, and then, you know, do a lot more attempts on scrap wood at ground level to try to get it right. That's the saw we did it with. You can see here, this is oh, I'm too close. This is what we call a carving chain and carving bar. They are used by climbing arborists and by chainsaw carvers. And this particular chain, I don't know if it's possible to see with this video or if you need to get closer. There we go, you can just see it there. It has, I've lost focus, come back, there we go. It has this anti-kickback thing on it here. I don't know what you would call that, but that reduces the kickback risk significantly in this type of chain, and that's something that's something that I wouldn't have if I pulled out one of my big chainsaws for felling work. There's all sorts of other stuff falling out of the van. It doesn't have that, and that's one of the big professional full kickback chains, which is great for boring cuts. But if you get it in the kickback zone, it can kill. Whereas this one, the risk of that happening because of this little ridge here and because of the geometry of the tip is significantly lower. If I take you on to this kind of first prototype bat roost, I tried to take some photographs of it, but the problem I ran into was that taking photographs of a space which is big, significantly bigger inside than it is at the entrance, I couldn't get it to work at all. So if I try and give you an idea of the dimensions, it's about 20 millimeters, and down here, I thought there was more. It's about 20 millimeters. So I get the feeling that entrance, yeah, there it is up there. It's closer to 15 millimeters. I get the feeling that I've made that entrance a bit too big for many European bats. You know, that might be better for one of the larger bats in warmer climates. So I think that's one of the first things that I might need to correct. Just make that entrance deeper. Not deeper, make that entrance narrower so the bats feel a bit safer from predation and from weather. And then if I try to give you a view inside, this is all going to go horribly wrong, isn't it? Now the sun's going down behind the mountainside, so I'm going to run out of light in a few moments. If you see, it's quite difficult to tell. There we go. You can maybe see that its depth in there is about, well, it's quite hard to see from the photograph, but it's maybe about, I'd say, 4 times the width of this ruler in total inside. And I was kind of trying to think, well, what are the bats going to hold on to with their paws? So instead of just making this one big open space, what I did was I made one, I don't know if you can see that, one kind of slit here, then another slit here, then another slit here, and another slit here, with the idea that the bat could maybe get its paws into there and then close out its fist and hold him or herself securely in place. Now the width of these gaps isn't based on any kind of biological insight. That's just based on the thickness of my chainsaw bar. I made them quite deep here. Again, it's difficult to see on the camera. Yeah, that's 40 millimeters deep there. I don't know if you can see it. I don't think the autofocus on this camera is working very well in this geometry. Okay, yeah, 40-50 millimeters. This one is, yeah, again 40-50 millimeters, 50. So I kind of get the, let's see if I can shift this over, there we go. So I kind of get the feeling that 40-50 millimeters for these internal grooves is maybe far too deep. Maybe just something like 10 millimeters would be much better, and that would actually hopefully leave enough space for the paws of the bat without you know, and also leave enough space for the bat's body. I don't know what baby bats do after they're born. I'm only guessing that most baby marsupials will cling to their mother's fur. So I'm guessing bats also cling to their mother's fur rather than clinging to the wood of the roost. I don't know what happens when mother needs to go hunting to get food, or whether the mother bat simply tries to put on enough fat that she's able to feed her young until they're at, you know, some kind of a stage to be able to look after themselves while she's away. But that's certainly a question to bear in mind. Does it need to be a certain internal diameter, as it were, for the mother bat, and also grooves present at a smaller internal diameter for her babies to be able to cling on there while she goes out in search of food? These are things I'm just not sure of. I've got no idea. So that's the final. I'm going to try and take you a bit away so you can hopefully, that's actually quite a good view, that makes it a bit clearer, so you can hopefully get a bit of a view of things. So that's my first guesstimate, and some questions for the experts. If I wiggle my finger around there, you can get a feeling for the kind of difference between the internal dimensions and the dimensions of the entrance. You see this entrance is quite long. I'm wondering, have I made this entrance too long? Would it be better if maybe up until here we're still covered, and I made the entire roost simply by taking my chainsaw and going in like this, so that there was only perhaps an entrance up to here, and the wood remained in place in this section to give the bats a longer, deeper nesting space where they might feel a bit safer from predation and weather, and where they would have a flat surface where they could rest. Again, I'm not sure about that. Everything I'm showing you here is of course upside down to protect the roost from weather. This would be like this. I don't know what you can see. There we go. There's sawdust on the camera now, and I can't see what the camera is looking at, so this is all guesswork. So this would be how it would be sitting on the tree, upside down, to keep the bats inside safe from rain and from predation. I should say this is a bit of a kind of a dream scenario to have a chunk of dead wood this size on a tree. We're lucky if we find that. Usually that's already been removed by some well-meaning individual. So typically, the chunk of that size of the chunk of dead wood we'd have to work with would maybe be significantly thinner than this. That's for bats. The next question, of course, are dormice, Siebenschläfer in German, Gliss in Latin. I suspect, they'd want a different kind of hole. I suspect they'd just want a round entrance, and then for it to be much bigger inside than the entrance, to give the mother and her young dormice protection from predation. And I've been thinking about it, and I kind of suspect that making that with a chainsaw is going to be well nigh impossible, to be honest, and that I'll need to either find or probably make some specialist tools that are rotating tools that are actually capable of making a hole that's much larger inside than outside. So that's the first prototype dormouse roost. For your feedback and for your suggestions about what's good about it and what needs to be improved about it. Sorry, this is in the form of a video rather than photos. I tried to take photos and I just couldn't get a good feel for the three-dimensional space. I could go in there with an endoscopic camera and take photos from inside, but I think it would still be, quite difficult to get a feel for the three-dimensional space, because these endoscopic cameras typically tend to have maybe a limited depth of field. Look forward to your feedback. Catch you soon.